well, but he's just not a teacher. Black people now want to be taught. They don't want to be just spoken to. They want to learn something now. They want to clear the smoke.
So what is his purpose?
You have to ask him that. You can't ask me what his limit is a fire conference. You have to go to him and ask him that.
This is the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test.
What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What up, everybody? What's going on? Peace to the chat. It is I, your boy, M.O.I. There's some information. My bad. I gotta get my headphone cord. It's all over the place right now. There we go. What up? Happy holiday. Happy holiday to all the Muslims around the world. Peace and love. Hope you guys can hear me, because I can't hear me at all. Make sure my sound coming through. Check, check. Okay. All right. All right. Y'all can hear me. Peace and love, everybody. What's going on? Happy Friday. Happy holiday. Happy holiday. As you guys can see, I'm rebranded. New look. Why not, right? Peace and love. You have now tuned into another installation of your boy, Mr. Information, man. Get your pen and your pad. This is your first time joining me. Welcome, first of all. Second of all, grab your pen and your paper. Those who know. Pen and paper gang in the building. You got to have pen and paper. Why is it important to have pen and paper? Because I don't want you guys to believe nothing I'm telling y'all. I'm not here to convince or persuade anybody. This is just information. Do your own research. Then this becomes something you know, not something you heard. Pen and paper is important. Okay? Off the top. But let's hop to the chat right quick. Go in the chat. True King always in the building, man. My guy True King always in the building, making it happen. Appreciate you, King. Appreciate you, brother. Rob Johnson, what up, though? Saying what up, though, back to you, man. Peace and love. Juicy crack, that is funny. Is it juicy? Christ. Oh, listen, man, let me tell you something, bro. This about to be off the chain. You need to get your pen and your paper. Let's take some notes, man. Let's take some notes. I'm gonna do my best to get y'all through a good part of history. So it's gonna be about I don't know, maybe 2.5 hour situation today on this measure. It's gonna be a 2.5 hour measure. I'm gonna attempt to get y'all from, what is that? Let's see. Check on our time period. We're gonna start around the 1200s, and I'm gonna try to get y'all to 1865. Okay, we're gonna start with the 1200s, 1200 AD, 1215 AD or so. We're going to start there and try to go progressively through history all the way to 1865. See, my goal is to get y'all to understand world history. Rise to Phoenix. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Peace and love. Happy Holy Day. Absolutely. Happy Holy Day. Friday is the holy day for all Muslims because Friday is the day man entered the flesh and Friday is the day the man departed the flesh, thus making Friday the holy day for all Muslims and Muslims around the world. Happy Holy Day. Who else in the building? D Nice in the building, master student. Peace and love. We see you. Impress me. I love that. That is dope. That's dope, actually. Critical thinker, pen and pad ready. My guy. So I told you, man. Those who know, man. You know what I'm saying? Alito. Big shouts to Chrome TV, man. We're in the building. Only on Chrome TV. I know it already. Houston, Texas is in the building. Shouts out to Houston, man. H-Town in the building, man. Shouts out to Texas. One day I'm going to get on here and just do a whole history on Texas. Just the whole history of Texas. Texas has a very interesting history. Like Texas can be its own country right now. Texas can be its own entire country right now. Shouts out to Texas. Hood, politics, entertainment, salute. Salute back to you, brother. Peace and love. Disciples in the building. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. Where's she at? There we go. Anytime I see the Queen of Force in the building, I get excited. Anytime I see you in the building, I get excited. That's how I know it's going to be a good measure when I see you. When I don't see you tapping in, I get concerned. Like, where's she at? Where's she at? And it's a couple of my I won't say queen, empresses out here. I got another empress who's always checking in. There she go. Shouts out to y'all holding it down. And all the queens and empresses on Crumb TV supporting M.O.I. I got some cool stuff coming for y'all, man. I want y'all to support me, though. That's the biggest thing is I ask for support in return. I'm going to give my best effort to give you guys the best information. Shouts out to all my queens, man. Who else we got in here? Because I know we got some more in here. And if I overlooked you, charge to the head, not to the heart. I'm just not seeing any other ladies in the chat. I want to take time to recognize y'all. Okay. Jeremiah always in the building. Peace and love. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you so much, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right. So as I said, I'm going to do my best to get y'all through about 600 years of history. 600 years of history. I'm going to do my best today to get y'all through that much history. And as always, you guys want to show some love, the love offering as I teach, or you feel blessed to, tap in. I appreciate it. This Sunday, I got a special treat for y'all this Sunday. I have a very special treat for y'all Sunday. Ladies, and for the fellas too. But this brother I got coming Sunday, man, very, very, very powerful brother, man. With the ciphers, with the numbers. And I say ciphers, I mean the numbers. The geometrium. If you've never heard of the geometrium, find out what the geometrium is. Find out what the geometrium is. This brother breaks down your name. He takes your name and breaks down the numerology behind your name. And it's mind-blowing. So this Sunday at 5:30, High Priest Antoine will be in here. I'm going to interview him. He's going to get into some of the information with the geometrium, breaking down the cipher. This brother is amazing with the information. High Priest Antoine. You'll be seeing him a lot more on the channel as well. So that'll be this Sunday. Also, big shouts out to TikTok. I'm at the 4K market TikTok. If you're not following me on TikTok, man, I don't know what y'all got going on, but I don't know what y'all talking about. If y'all not following me over on TikTok, going, hamster over there, man. You know what I'm saying? Come rock with me over on TikTok. And of course, always you want to support the brand. It's wintertime. It's getting cold outside. Need some hoodies. Why not support? Shoot me an email at M.O.I podcast@gmail.com. I'll see you an exclusive link. An exclusive link through October 30th. I'm cutting prices. I'm looking out for y'all. This is just on the love. Just cop a hoodie just to show support. I'm also going to be doing a giveaway also. I'm going to be giving away some hoodies also for the upcoming holidays. So be sure to tap in the M.O.I podcast@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. And I'm going to give away a couple hoodies. I might give away like, 20, 30 hoodies. Just so everybody can tap in with me. You know what I mean? What are you doing, Jayana? Please come out the kitchen. Sorry about that, man. All right. So let's just dive in. So it's going to be about a 2.5-hour lecture. We're going to go through a lot of history. What do you say? Can I get that? For real. It is what we all need. Let me dive right into it. Pause my music for a second. So putting everything into context, right? It's a lot. It's a lot of information. And today I'm going to attempt to make the connection for you. Okay. America been at war for a long time, y'all. When I say America, I just mean the fabric of what America became. It's a war zone. It's a war zone. It's a land of conquest, enslavement, exploitation. Not too much, Jalen. That's not too much. A land of exploitation, manipulation, servitude, oppressed, experiment. When I talk about the American colonies, for whatever reason, I don't want everybody's mind to get stuck in Africans being exported out of Africa, being brought to the America. And when I say the colonial era of America, I don't want everybody to just think Pilgrim and Indians. I don't want everybody to just think the Mayflower. This is equally important because we're about to come into Thanksgiving, the celebrated festival, the feast of carnage that's coming upon us in a couple of weeks in November. That's very interesting. So when I say the colonial America, there were so many wars. So many wars. This what I'm showing you right now is one of the earlier important ones. It's called King Philip's War. Now, just by mentioning King Philip, you think it's some European King Philip, like King James or whoever. But no, this is King Philip, Metacom. You heard me talk about him before. But I encourage you to do your due diligence and look up Chief Metacomet. Metacomet. I said Metacom. Looks like meta comment. This is the King Philip's War. Let's take a quick look at exactly what King Philip's War was. So write down King Philip's War, 1675 to 1678, King Philip's War. Let's find out who, what, and why. Who, what, and why. So write down King Philip's War. I'm right down with y'all. This is an early Friday morning class. You guys should know by now. This is class. I'm not here to entertain nobody. This is a learning environment. King Philip's War. I'm making notes as well with you guys. 1675 to 1678. So 3 years. 75 to 78. Who? Write down the word who. Write down the word where. And write down the word what. Who, where, what. Let's see if we can answer these questions. Who, what, where, or who, what, who, what, where. See if we can answer these questions. So who is going to be King Philip's, or AKA his name is Metacom, also known as Pomotacom. Metacom. His adopted English name is King Philip. He was a Sekhmet, meaning like the overall chief. These were chiefdoms. And really by calling them chiefdoms, they were doing a disservice. They were actually minimizing the size of territory, size of the realm. All right. Take them and go upstairs, please. They were minimizing the realm by calling it chiefdom. It was actually a kingdom. So his equivalency would be king. He would be King Metacom. Upstairs, Jalen. Sorry about that, y'all. I got my baby in the background. Kids, man. She a pandemic baby too. But anyway, they minimize it. So that's why you see the term King Philip. It's actually King Metacom. And you're only a king over a kingdom. So this was a kingdom. This is the first thing I want you guys to understand. We're going to answer the where in a second. So I just want you guys to understand the who. The next question is the where, right? Where. We established the who. The next thing is going to be what. So where does this take place? It says the New England colonies of British America, including Connecticut colony, the colony of Rhode Island, Providence Plantation, Massachusetts Bay colony, Plymouth colony, and the province of New Hampshire, as well as a few smaller, short-lived colonies, the New England colonies. So these are the New England colonies. The reason we have to understand the distinction between the New England colonies and what's also known as the Spanish colonies. We have the French colonies. Okay, this is important because if I say the British colonies, you know the settlements starts around 1619. If I say the Spanish colonies in North America, we're talking about 1526. Hold on. Switch my thing. I'm gonna show you guys the Spanish colonies that preceded the English colonies. These are the Spanish colonies in North America. I know we think Spain and Portugal only selling in Central and South America, but Spain actually came to North America first. And then look at the time frame, 1526. We know the early 1500s that Spain was already in this territory in the early 1500s because in 1492, which is 8 years prior to 1500, Colombo And the Spanish Armada came over here. Not the entire Spanish Armada. Let me go back and show you real quick. The Spanish Armada.
Here are some pictures that match.
The Spanish Armada was a Spanish fleet that sailed from Lisbon in late May 1588, commanded by Alonso de Guzman. He was a duke of Medina, Sardinia, and aristocrat. This is the Spanish Armada. The Spanish Armada was one part of the planned invasion of England by King Philip II of Spain. Now, where else did we hear the word King Philip? Chief Medicom was also called King Philip, right? So we're gonna go back and show you how he got his name, King Philip. This is King Philip II of Spain in 1588, who was the commander of the Spanish Armada, the Spanish fleet, the ships. You know, all the ships that keep telling you about, the slave ships and the Mayflower and the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, and all that stuff, right? These are all just battleships and cargo ships for war, conquest, and trade. That's it. War, conquest, and trade. That was the only purpose. And the conquering mechanism, ends up being something called Christendom, which we'll talk about in a second. Remember I'll just show you, but remember the settlers who came to Jamestown in Virginia, those were pilgrims, or they were on a pilgrimage. We're going to take a look at who these people were. The Puritans and the Quakers and the Calvinists. We're going to go back before they came over to America and see what was happening with King Henry VIII, King Charles, King James, King George, King Ferdinand. These were conquering kingdoms who were beginning to be conquered themselves by the clergy or by the Catholic Church. The Pope was seeking to disband king rulership or monarchy. But the church used the kingdom to spread the message of Christianity through the Hospitallers and the Knight Templars. We're going to talk about the Knight Templars. The Knight Templars were actually in America way prior to Columbus. The Knight Templars came over here in the 1300s. And I'm going to show you that too. The connection of this war. We're going to look at it from a world war platform. When I say world war platform, world wars are fought between combining nations to either stop or overthrow other nations, other kingdoms. Let's say it again. That's a combined joint effort. That's why you have places like Joint Forces Command or NATO and things of that nature, when nations join to conquer other nations or to subdue other nations or to keep other nations in check. This was the world theater. Okay. So as I discuss and show you the Indian Removal Act, which was part of a war. I mean, it was unfortunate that the ancestors lost the war. And they lost the war and they were excommunicated from those lands or banished from those lands, known as the Trail of Tears. Now, they were invited back into the lands in the 1860s under what was known as the Special Field Order Number 15. or the 40 acres and the mule, as people commonly refer to as. They were re-invited back to the land in 1865. But once they had abandoned those lands forcibly under war power, they went and got the most brutal general they could find. There was General Andrew Jackson, who at the time was Colonel Andrew Jackson during the War of 1812. See, the War of 1812 also sets up the premises of the Western expansion. This sets up a lot for Western expansion. Hold on. Hey, listen, it's my pleasure, man. It's my honor to be amongst y'all. This is real talk. Like it's such an honor to be able to have an audience such as you all. You guys are aware of what's happening. You guys are tapped in on what's going on. So it makes it easier for me to explain certain topics. Like today is going to be a breeze. If you're taking notes, today is going to be a breeze. You're taking notes. It's going to make so much sense to you. So I appreciate y'all for tapping in and showing love and continue to support me. I promise to give you my best efforts if you guys continue to support. That's my word. So let's take a look at this early settlement, and something is significant when I was reading about this right here. And I said, this reminds me of something else. So 1526, Lucas Vasquez established the first European settlement in what is now the continent of the United States, San Miguel de Guadalupe, on the coast of present-day Georgia or Carolina. And it says Georgia or Carolina because at one point in time, that entire territory was called Carolina. At one point in time, the whole territory was called Floridian or Florida. I think we should look at these maps real quick. Let's look at it this way. Lord Proprietor. I know you guys like, what the hell is Lord Proprietor? This is a Lord Proprietor. They received a royal charter to settle the Carolinas. I'm trying to see if they can give me a map of the area. There it is right there. All right, there we go right there. Okay. So if I can blow it up just a little bit so we can see it. Yeah, I figured it act weird. Hold on. There we go. These early maps. See, these early maps tell you and show you a lot also. So the whole territory, I'm gonna go back to that in a second, that settlement. The Lord Proprietors of Carolina were the 8 English noblemen who were granted land in North America by King Charles II in 1663. We're going to see King Charles again. 1663, King Charles, he gives away the entire territory known as the Carolina, which is North and South Carolina, like the whole entire territory, damn near out to Tennessee. All right, let's go back. Spanish colony, 1526. Spanish colony San de Miguel is a former Spanish colony founded in 1526 by Lucas Vasquez. It was the third settlement in North America, north of Mexico, in the early 1500s. Spaniards were conducting expeditions to the area now known as South Carolina in Georgia to kidnap Native Americans as slaves. I'm gonna let y'all read that first. I'm gonna let that just stew in the air for a second, what we just consumed just then. Did you hear what we just said? It's a former Spanish colony founded in 1526. It's the early 1500s because you got to remember 1492, blah, 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 blah. And Columbus came over here 4 different times, by the way. 4 different times, not just one time. He came 4 different times, and he brought back a lot more guns the next time to take over. And the reason I go over this information over and over, and you hear me mention this stuff over and over, because there's so much information to consume at one time. And the best way of retaining information is by repetitive cadence. So then when I show you stuff like this, where it said in the early 1500s, where is it at? In the early 1500s, Spaniards were conducting expeditions to the area now known as South Carolina and Georgia to kidnap Native Americans as slaves. I wonder which Native Americans were in South Carolina and in Georgia in the 1500s. Matter of fact, write that on your paper. What tribes were in Georgia? Just put GA. South Carolina, just put SE. What tribes were in Georgia and South Carolina during 1500s? Give you a second to write that down. Write that on your paper. And also what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to kill the debate about if we are indigenous folks, if we're true Indians and blah, blah, blah. In spite of us all hearing our grandma tell us we have Indian in our family. I don't think grandma had no reason to lie. Ain't nobody grandma ever told them about slavery. And if you have any older relatives that's still around, like you have an older uncle, older aunties, go ask them if your grandma and them were slaves, or if they were probably sharecroppers. They were getting compensated. So at any rate, we're going to take a look at which tribes were in South Carolina and in Georgia. So now we know that they were kidnapped Native Americans. Let's look at this real quick. You know, you have to put slavery was everywhere. You got to put the American Indian slave trade. All right. It says the American Indian slave trade refers to the historical practice of European colonists in North America capturing and enslaving Native Americans. Remember, we were talking about the Spanish. They were talking about the Europeans started doing it also. We just learned that the Spanish were kidnapping Native Americans out of North America in the 1500s, which is the 16th century. Now, the 17th and 18th century, Europeans from Europe begin to do the same thing. So that's 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, and 1800s. 400 years, damn near, of people from North America being trafficked out of North America and being carried somewhere else on the planet in bondage, not brought in from Africa, over here. We're going to talk about them in a second also. We're going to also talk about them also. So don't worry. We're going to also talk about the African diaspora as well. But I want you to put in your head that the African slave trade has nothing to do with this slave trade. This was the first one. This was the first Atlantic slave trade. The American Indian slave trade refers to the historical practice of European colonists in North America capturing and enslaving Native Americans primarily through warfare. Primarily through warfare. Write that somewhere on your paper. Warfare. That's the topic of today's subject. The American Black Indian Wars. And keep in mind, this right here is on the heels. This is on the heels of. We'll come back to this in a second. This is on the heels of this is on the heels of this right here. This is on the heels of the Moors being conquered. Look, right there, King Philip III on your paper. I told you who you're gonna keep seeing. You're gonna see these kings. Before I go any further, I'm gonna tell you what kings you're gonna see. You're gonna see King Philip, King Charles, King George, King Ferdinand. I missed somebody. Queen Elizabeth and Queen Isabella. 1492 and 1610. 3 million Muslims were expelled from Spain and were left voluntarily and resettled in North Africa. The expulsion of Moors was a part of a series of events. This was a series of events. This is the 1400s. The war comes to the shores of America in the 1500s and continues to go throughout the 1800s. This is the battle. This is the battle. This is the battle for the dominion of earth. This is the battle for the dominion of earth. The expulsion of the Moors were a part of a series of an event that also included the expulsion of Jews from Spain in 1492. Around 200,000 Yehudis were expelled from Castile and Aragon in 1492. Now, when you see Castile and Aragon, we're talking about the two families of Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand. And King Ferdinand bloodline goes all the way back to Don Quixote or Don Sancho. Go look him up. Many Jews left for Portugal, and the Yehudis who went to Portugal, they're known as Sephardic. You have Ashkenazis, you have Sephardic. The Moors who converted to Christians, they were called Moriscos. So some of the Islamic Moors converted to Christendom. Now, why is this important? Why is this important? Why is the religious notion important in this paradox of Moors who were Muslims converting to Christianity? What is happening in the realm of Christendom that is forcibly making these devout Muslims convert to Christianity? This should be a question. The Moriscos were a group of people who converted to Christianity, but were suspected and marginalized. They were subject to discrimination and punishment for their ignorance by the church and the Inquisition. Inquisition. Write down Inquisition, please. And I guess what I'm also doing, I'm also setting a pattern to teach you how to study, because I'm grabbing certain words out of these paragraphs that you should go further you're studying on to get the full gist of the thing. The Inquisition was done by the British Empire, the Spanish Empire, the Dutch Empire. The Inquisitions were done throughout the Americas. That's what it is. It was an Inquisition. expulsion. So now when I go back and talk about the Trail of Tears or the Indian Removal Act, it's an Inquisition act. Let me go back on this real quick. The same way they did the Moors out of Spain, which was an expulsion, it was a Moorish removal act, Inquisition. Okay? This is world history. This is world history. Not just Native American history, not just African American history. This is world history. And that's how we have to start looking at history on this platform when I speak, as how does it relate to world history? Between 1492 and 1610, isn't that interesting? Some 3 million Muslims voluntarily left or were expelled from Spain. They resettled in North Africa. This displaced population provided an army of recruits prepared for commercial war against Christendom, launching practical attacks from the bases in Algiers, Tunis, Morocco, and Tripoli. Because that was the kingdom. But the kingdom also came over here as well. Let's go back. Let me slow down. Algiers, Tunis, Morocco, Tripoli. That was part of the Western Kingdom. Those 4 places was part of the Western Kingdom. See, Africa was the last continent that they conquered. Africa was the last continent that they conquered. They just ran practice on the Americas. In fact, what they did to the Americas was called colonialism. By the time it got to Africa, it was called neo-colonialism. It was new colonial. It was nova colonialism. If they had done, they had 300-400 years to practice. We know exactly what to do now. We've been squabbling with tribal people for years. These African tribes are no different to conquer them. They got bow and arrows and sticks and spears also. In fact, the Africans still had bow and arrows, sticks and spears in the 1930s and 20s and 1910s and the late 1800s. They had been slaughtering people with bows and sticks and spears for years in the Americas. And that's why we have to go back to the King Philip War. But I have to walk you back through history first, so you can see how we got over here to North America, how they got over here to North America to continue the war and the great land grab. And the clergy of the Catholic Church being the apex, and the kings, the monarchy, being the next tier from the apex of the pyramid. And they dispatch these decrees and these edicts down to their noblemen. And the nobleman hands it off to the knights. And the knights go do the bidding. But then there's a side act to that too. The side act, they're called barons. I'm going to teach you about the barons in a second. B-A-R-O-N, barons. Just remember those, where they go? These people right here. Just keep these people in mind right here. I don't want to say it out loud, but just keep those people in mind. Matter of fact, you can write their names down. Just put an asterisk beside their name, because we're going to circle back to them. We'll talk about barons. In fact, put the word baron beside their name. I apologize. I'm all over the place with the notes, but just put the word baron beside their name. Let's put a little asterisk, put it in a semicolon, something beside it, off to the scratch piece of paper. Just put barons and put their names beside barons, and we'll come back to them. A particular baron that comes to mind, remind me because I may forget, but a particular baron that comes to mind, his name is Solomon Ben, Ben, Isaac. Solomon ben Isaac. They call him Rashid Kohen. Solomon ben Isaac. We're going to come back to them though, okay? Between 1492, 1610, they were expelled. We got these territories written down, right? The Western Kingdom. Put an asterisk beside Tripoli. This is Montezuma. Montezuma. The first contact between indigenous civilization of Mesoamerican Europeans took place during his high reign. He was killed during the initial stage of the Spanish conquest, Inquisition. Why am I showing you Chief Montezuma? Why did I tell you to highlight Tripoli? Marine Corps anthem. I think it's in the anthem. I think it's in the anthem. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. From Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. This is the war of the Western Empire and the Eastern Empire. They conquered both empires. We are the Eastern Empire. Now I'm going to go through some of the kings of the Eastern Empire. I really hope that made sense. The American Indian slave trade. I said all that to bring you back to the conquesting of the Western Empire. We're back over here now, right? We have left that side of the world. We're back over here now. I just wanted to show you the connection between Montezuma and Tripoli and show you when they conquered the shores of Tripoli, they conquered the halls of Montezuma simultaneously. That was the connection. They completely conquered the entire Eastern and Western theater. Moorish Empire, whatever empire you want to call it, just know that the empire was connected. That's why you're seeing similar connections between Africa and the Americas. That's why you're seeing shit like cheetahs in Africa, and cheetahs are from North America, camels, and that's why you're seeing that, because there was a ancient exchange prior to Europeans coming in with their Inquisition acts. Europeans were not even interested in coming over here. They thought the world was flat. They didn't even come over here. That's why the little fat Italian boy, Christopher Columbus, came over here first. His second trip, he brought Ponce de Leon with him, and he became the governor of Puerto Rico. Ponce de Leon did. And then the contracts the contracts were being signed because now they knew that there were resources in the North American hemisphere and Central and South American hemisphere. There were resources over here that they didn't have over there. And Europe knew if they got their hands on these resources, the cocoa beans and the coffee and the tobacco and the sugar cane, which they used the stalks of the sugar cane to turn into rum. So then we got spirits. Okay. So they're understanding that the paradox of what they're about to get into right now with this trading, these are early English companies. These are corporations. That's why it's so hard to really point to really who did what when it came to this act of inquisition and this act of trading human trafficking. That's why it's so hard really to put a finger on the exact who, because there was a whole lot of who's involved. These were corporate entities. These were corporate entities doing trade with one another, setting up shop. And remember, at the apex of this is still the Catholic Church at the apex. So they're telling them, yeah, go out and conquer the infidel, but do it in this sign, though. In hoc signo vincit, in this sign with the crown and the cross. Do it in this sign. Do it like this. That's why the Santa Maria had to come over here and bring all those what they call friars, bishops of Christ over here. That's why they had to come over here. Spread the gospel. The American Indian slave trade referred to the historical practice of European colonists in North America capturing and enslaving Native Americans primarily through warfare to use as labor in various industries, with this trade being particularly prevalent in the 17th and 18th century, 16 and 1700s. Okay? Primarily in the American Southeast. The American Southeast is Virginia down to Florida over to Texas. That's the Southeast region of North America. That's including Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, parts of Arkansas, Alabama, Louisiana. That's the Southeast region. And as I speak, y'all know that's the only region I really deal with and talk about. I'm aware of other regions, but the only region that I particularly have a fascination for is the Southeast region of America, where tribes would often capture and sell members of other tribes. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? That sounds like what they told us happened in Africa. The tribes would capture other tribes and put them on the coast of Africa, have shipped off. Well, they were doing it here. I'm not saying they didn't do it, but it was a common practice where tribes would often capture and sell members of other tribes to the colonies in exchange for goods. This practice gradually declined as the importation of African slaves became more widespread. Okay, I'll just make sure y'all saw what I saw. Who was involved? European colonists, primarily English and Spanish, captured and enslaved Native Americans from various tribes. How would it function? Colonists would often incite wars between tribes, then purchase captured Native Americans as slaves to work on plantations. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I just want to make sure I'm not tripping. And again, this conversation puts a lot of light on if we're truly indeed American Indians. Because right now I'm trying to look up Indian slaves. on the plantation. Let me share my screen with y'all so you guys can see what I see. Let me share my screen. Now, I put in Indian slaves on the plantation, and this is what I got. Indian slaves on the plantation. I didn't put black, I didn't put Negro, I didn't put colored, I didn't put African American. I put Indian slaves on a plantation. You don't see nobody with no feathers in it. Well, this would come up when I say that, but you don't see nobody out there in the field with no Native American attire on, do you? In fact, you don't even see the people they call Indians out there, do you? Indian slaves on plantations, what I put. Now, look, watch this. You didn't see them out there picking nothing. There are no photos of these people out there doing anything on no plantation. You just saw what I saw. All right. I just want to point that out real quick. Let's continue on with our reading. I apologize. They would purchase and capture Native American slaves to work on plantations in mines or domestic servants. The reason for the decline: the increasing availability of African slaves, coupled with the Native American resistance and knowledge of land, led to the gradual decrease in the enslavement of Native people. Some Native American tribes also engaged in capturing and enslaving members of other tribes, which then facilitated the trade with colonists. The slave trade significantly disrupted native society and contributed to the population decline. Although not explicitly stated in law, the practice of Indian slavery was largely accepted by colonial government. And we have slavery among Americans, Native Americans in the United States. The tribal territory and slave ranges present-day borders. Some Native American tribes held war captives. This is the part I want you guys to pay attention to. Let's look up what a war captive is. A war captive, or POW, a prisoner of war, is a person held captive by a belligerent power during immediate after an armed conflict. The earliest recorded usage of the phrase prisoners of war was dated back to 1610. Prisoners of war, POW. Now, I want to point your attention somewhere else to another. Well, let's do this real quick. Prisoners of war. Usually, when you have prisoners of war POWs, they're maintained in what's commonly referred to as a work camp. They're commonly put on these right here, a labor camp. POWs, those same Indian POWs we talked about, the same Indian POWs that were on the plantations we just read. Keep this in mind. A labor camp or work camp is a detention facility where inmates are forced to engage in penal labor. Penal labor is a term for various kinds of forced labor that prisoners are required to perform, typically manual labor. The work may be light or hard, depending on the context. Forms of sentences involve penal labor have included involuntary servitude, penal servitude, imprisonment without something. Penal labor is involuntary servitude. So now we understand the importance of the 13th and 14th Amendment, right? Particularly the 13th Amendment. We understand the significance of it saying that slavery is involuntary slave servitude is illegal unless you are convicted of a crime. Then this still applies. And that's when you get the civil mortuus, the loss of civil status, and so on and so forth, right? Aspects with slavery in prison, especially prison farms. Prison farms. Labor camps, work labor camps is a place where POWs, prisoners of war, would often be sent to. Tribal territory and slave trades ranged over present-day borders. Some Native American tribes held war captives, war camps, labor camps, plantations, as slaves prior to and during the European colonization. Some Native Americans were captured and sold others into slavery to Europeans, while other captives were sold to Europeans themselves. In the late 18th and 19th century, 17 and 1800s, a small number of tribes, such as the 5 so-called civilized tribes, began increasing their holdings of African American slaves. European contact greatly influenced slavery as it existed among pre-contact Native American, particularly in scale, as they raided other tribes to capture slaves for sale to Europeans. They fell into destructive wars amongst themselves and against Europeans. Many Native American tribes practiced some form of slavery before European introductions of African slavery into North America. Now, we have established the fact that Indian slave trade existed. We understand that war brought about much of that. Let's talk about some of these wars. And then we're going to go back overseas. I got you. I'll let you know when we go back overseas. Jail, yeah. Labor camps, pretty much. King Philip's War, or what's called the First Indian War. Isn't that interesting they would call it the First Indian War? The First Indian War. King Philip's War, sometimes called the First Indian War, Metacom's War, the rebellion. They always we do a rebellion, much like the Nat Turner rebellion. Was an armed conflict, 1675 to 1676, between a group of indigenous people of northeastern woodlands. We're gonna talk about who those people are too. Notice they put indigenous. Indigenous people. Northeastern woodlands would be Virginia, Maryland, DC, Massachusetts, Maine, New York area. That would be like it's a northeastern. The southeastern is Virginia again and below. It was an armed conflict of indigenous people between a group of indigenous people of the northeastern woodlands against the English New England colonies and their indigenous allies. So they had other tribes, as we just read, that helped them out. These Europeans couldn't navigate those woods by themselves. So other indigenous tribes will help them out in exchange for guns, whiskey, and whatever have you, right? If other tribes are fighting with bow and arrow and you're offered muskets at that time, I would assume, the muskets are more an effective tool of war. So other tribes, not saying it's right, I think it was pretty jacked up that they would betray their own brethren. But it happened. It happened. The war name for Metacom, the Polkanot chief is Segment. Again, Segment is something like a king, leader, mostly a king though, of the Wampanoag. Let's look at the Wampanoag, people. Oh, it ain't. Well, hold on. Let's see if we did it right. There we go. Yep. You see her. You see the sister. These are the Wampanoag people. Okay. Just in case you're doubting. I like to show receipts. I don't want no speculation going on. You see who they are, right? You see who the Europeans were fighting this first Indian War. I'm showing you who they was fighting. I'm not going to say nothing. I want you guys to take a look at the Wampanoag. I want y'all to look at the Wampanoag. I'm not going to say nothing. Because y'all seeing y'all see who their descendants are. You are who your forefathers were without doubt or contradiction. Look at bro. You don't tapped in. Fucked around and found out. Come on now. Come on, little queen. Come on, sis. It's about to make them grits. Come on, sis. Now, with arms like that, you probably make some cornbread. A macaroni and cheese be bang gang. You gotta have your arms look like that. You can cook. Come on, sis. So I just want to show y'all who the Wampanoag are. Not even were, who they were, who they are. And put some respect on the Wampanoag. So now we know who they are. And Chief Metacom was the king of the Wampanoag who adopted the English name Philip because of the friendly relation between his father, Manasseh, Messiah, I just call him Massa, and the Plymouth colony. So the Plymouth colony is the early colony that everybody's talking about. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. You know, y'all remember that with Malcolm? Well, this is what Malcolm was referring to. The Plymouth colony. Okay. The Plymouth colony, also commonly referred to as the Plymouth Company in Jamestown. Remember I told you those three kings, King James, King Charles, and King George? This is the Plymouth colony who were founded by, watch this, Plymouth Company. See? These were companies. These were corporate entities. I forgot about those barons. Wait till I show y'all the financiers of these companies. Wait till I expose the people who financed and bankrolled these companies to get started over here. These are companies. Those 13 colonies were 13 companies. And that's why I was showing you guys before those royal charters that were issued by James Oglethorpe to set up the Georgia colony, and then the Lord proprietors and Lord Baltimore. I'm going too fast. Keep up. Watch this. The Plymouth Company, officially known as Virginia Company of Plymouth, was a company chartered by King James. Charters. We're gonna talk about charters. How y'all even come over here doing this? How did y'all get over here doing this stuff? Were a bunch of Europeans just sitting around one day and like, let's go take some shit. How you gonna take it? Let's just take it. By the time these Europeans got over here, they were not afraid of fighting. Let me show y'all something. By the time the Europeans got over here, fighting, war. Are you serious? We can go back to 1096. We can go back beyond 1096. Go back before 1096. These jokers been fighting. They have legions, armies. They have full military operations. This was a military. This plan to conquer the lands of North America and later Africa was a military operation executed by the Roman Catholic Church. The military order is a Christian religious society of knights. The original orders were the Knight Templars, the Knight Hospitallers, the Order of the Holy Sepulchre, the Orders of St. James, the Order of Clairtrivia, and the Tunic Knights. They arose in the Middle Ages in Europe. They were prominent in Christian finance as a ethnical finance following Christian ethics, although not widely used in notion Christian finance or Catholic finance refers to the banking and financial activities which came into existence several centuries ago, whether the activities of the Knight Templars, the Malpetes, or whatever they say right there, Malpetes, Mounts of Pity. The Knight Templars set up the financing mechanism. Non-combative members of the order, who made up 90% of their members, managed a large economical infrastructure throughout Christendom. So the following questions now should be, okay, throughout Christendom, what was Christendom? Christendom. Following Christendom, Christian majority countries or countries in which Christianity is dominant or prevails. Following the spread of Christianity from the Levant to Europe and North Africa during the early Roman Empire, Christendom has been divided into pre-existing Greek East and Latin West. Consequently, internal sects within the Christian religion arose with their own beliefs and practices centered around the cities of Rome and Western Christianity, whose communities are called Western or Latin Christendom. In Constantinople, it says from 11th to 13th century, Latin Christendom arose to Central World, Western world. The history of Christianity's world spanned about 2,000 years, including the various social political developments and well-advanced arts, architect, literature, science, philosophy, politics, and technology. So that's what Christendom is. But it said that the official endorsement of the Roman Catholic Church, such a decree. There's another papal bull. Write down papal bull. Write that down. Write this papal bull down. Omni Detum Optimum was the papal bull issued by Pope Innocent II. Pope Innocent II. Anytime I come across a name, you have to write that person's name down. That's what I do. That's how I'm able to link everybody together. Like, oh, okay, so he was Pope Innocent II, and then it takes you over to what's his name, Pope Clarence, and then this Pope over here. It all starts to interconnect because these are the Eastern and Western theaters of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church had a divide, so you had a Pope in France and you had a Pope in Rome. You know what I'm saying? But they were all under the ecclesiastical authority of Christendom. And I make this point to go back to where it is. Where is it at? Where's it at? Okay, hold on. So I make this point to show you this right here. The development, innovation, financial technique that were in the early form of banking. So this is your first banking cartel. The Knight Templars were able to create what's called the first banking cartel. All right, first banking system. I mean, like writing checks and everything back then. Back then, we're talking about 1119, 1100s. The 1100s, 1119 to 1312, but 1119. Hold on, my daughter's in. Go upstairs, Jalen. Thank you. Kids, man. Manage a large economic infrastructure throughout Christendom. They developed innovative financial techniques, and they were the early form of banking, building a network of nearly 1,000 commanderies and fortifications across Europe and the Holy Land. The Templars were closely tied to the Crusades. Crusades is another form of Inquisition. So let's look at. Hold on, fam. Got the ice cream, baby. Yes, y'all. Give me 1 second, fam. Hold on. They gotta. Kids, man. Love the babies though. She's taking advantage of me being on live, and she's in the kitchen doing something, God knows what. But she's fine though. The Templars were closely tied to the Crusades as they became unable to secure their holding in the Holy Land. Support for the order faded. Rumors about the Templar secret initiation ceremony created distrust, and King Philip IV of France, while being deeply in debt to the order, used this distrust to take advantage of the situation. In 1307, Pope Clement V. So right now you should have Pope Innocent II written down, King Philip IV of France, and Pope Clement V. To have many of the order's members in France arrested, tortured, and giving false confessions, and then burned at the stake. Under further pressure, Pope Clement V disbanded the order in 1312. The abrupt disappearance of a majority part of the medieval European infrastructure gave rise to speculation and legend, which have currently kept the Templars' name alive. The abrupt disappearance of a major part of medieval Europe infrastructure gave rise to speculation and legend, which have currently kept the Templar name alive. I'm going to show y'all something. Because remember, I showed you Spain was over here in 1526, right? So this is the 1100s. This is 1100s to 1300s, okay? 1100 to 1300. This is the 1500s. 1300s. Were the Templars over here in the 1300s? Did the Knight Templars also come to North America? Did they? Well, luckily, I've done the research for you already, and I can tell you they actually did. The Templars came to North America in 1398. The Templars preceded Columbus. The Templars preceded Columbus. (1398), the modern stone nearby reads Prince Henry I Sinclair of Orkney, born in Scotland, made a voyage of discovery to North America in 1398. After wintering in Nova Scotia, he sailed to Massachusetts and on an inland expedition 1399 to Prospect Hill to view the surrounding countryside. One of the party died. Henry Sinclair. William Wester, second Lord Sinclair, born 1430 at the birthplace to William Sinclair, Knight Templar, and Elizabeth Sinclair, Knight Templar, born Douglas. William had 8 siblings, Sir Oliver Saint. The Knight Templars were already over here. The Templars were already over here before Columbus. Right, that part. Well, I felt like what I just said was a big deal. So I felt like what I said was a big deal just then. I don't feel like I haven't heard that nowhere. Press 111 in the comment if it's your first time hearing this. Give me a 111 in the comment if this is your first time hearing about Knight Templars were over here before Columbus. And if it's not your first time hearing it, it's going to be your first time hearing somebody connect this to that and that to this. Watch how I connect it for you. I'm going to connect the dots for y'all. I'm working for y'all. I'm working my keister off right now. I'm doing my best to go slow. And any of you know my teachings, it looks like I'm here and here. I'm going to go around the world with the information. Just write down what I ask you to write down. Just listen to the information. Don't try to really understand all of it at one time because it's really too much information that I'm giving. But I want you guys to write it down and go back and do your own research. I'm just going to connect the dots for you. You're going to start seeing how we got to go to the top, though. The Roman Catholic Church is the very top of it. And that's why sometimes it's hard to connect history, world history, from the African diaspora of North America, the American Indian diaspora of North America, what happened down in Central America with the Aztec and Mayan empires, what happened down in South America with the Inquisition of the conquistadors coming in and raping and pillaging the indigenous people. Hopefully this begins to bring it into focus who the real handlers were of these massive atrocious operations. I'm trying to expose the people behind the curtain. I don't want to keep talking about the people they keep showing you. Those are all distractions. They keep showing y'all certain people for a reason, to keep you distracted with people. They keep every February to give you the same people. You have no reason to look beyond the people they present to you. But I want to give you a reason to look a little bit beyond what they give you. Now let's read about this real quick. Let's get into this real quick. The Zeno brothers, they called them Nicola and Antonio, were Italian noblemen. Where did Columbus come from? Look at that picture right there. Look at that picture right there. You see that picture right there? You see that picture right there? My daughter is loud as hell. But you see that picture right there? Keep that picture in your mind. I'm gonna give you a couple more seconds to look at it. I'm gonna just stare at that picture for a second. Stare at the hat, the hair, the cloak, the hairstyle, the cheek, but I'll just keep looking at that picture and watch this. Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus, between August 25th and 31st, 1451 to 1506, I assume he expired, was an Italian explorer and navigator from the Republic of Genoa. Was a medieval and early modern maritime republic for years. A maritime republic, interesting. Who completed 4 Spanish voyages. He's from Italy. He's an Italian. He completed 4 Spanish voyages. So I would assume that Spain gave him the vessels. You see the routes. He never came to North America. Columbus didn't. An Italian explorer. And we have Nicola and Antonio, who were also Italian explorers, who lived during the 14th century. They came to prominence in 1558 when their descendant, Nicola Zeno the Younger, published a map. Nicola Zeno the Younger published a map in a series of letters purporting to describe an exploration made by the brothers to North Atlantic in the Arctic waters in 1390s. The younger Nicola claimed the document was discovered in a storeroom of his family's home. Okay. So we're talking about a map and a series of letters. We're talking about Nicola Zeno the Younger published a map. I'm laughing because, dang, what that movie's called? What's the name of that movie? Yeah. National Treasure. And the reason I'm talking about National Treasure, because now we're dealing with the Knight Templars, dealing with the Freemasons, we're dealing with Christopher Columbus, we're dealing with maps, we're dealing with exploration. Let's check this out real quick. I'm not gonna, of course, I don't want to play the volume of it. His grandfather is telling him the story of a great treasure. That's Columbus right here. Let's go back. Went kind of fast. You see those sails on that ship? You know what kind of cross that is? You know who that cross belonged to? You know who those ships belong to with that big ass cross up there? That cross later got taken down. They used to sail with that big red cross. on their vessel. Yes. Thank you. But it goes so fast in the movie that you really don't even recognize. So they're showing you the Knight Templars coming over here, but look who they show you on the ship.
Across continents until across continents.
They came across continents to explore. Let me do y'all a favor and decipher that for you real quick. Hold on. This is them now coming over to North America. Keep that in mind. This is them now learning about the vast empires over here in North America. I'm trying to blow this up so you guys can see what I'm talking about. There we go. All right. Now we in there. Keep in mind, the whole goal is to come over here and conquer the shores of North America. Of course, they have to get through other tribes when they get here. And I'm going to come back to those tribes in a second. That's the emblem you saw on the back of that coin that Columbus had in his hand. The fat Italian guy in the movie, that was supposed to be Columbus. But as we just read in the article, the voyage itself was something that was happening in 1398. Columbus didn't come to 1492. So even in the movie clip just then, they're crossing the lines of history. If you don't know history, you thought that was just Columbus coming over here. But the first ship didn't set sail come over here until 1398, the Templars. Now, are they insinuating that Columbus is a Templar? Is that the insinuation, that Christopher Columbus is a Templar? Or are they just simply highlighting the fact that the Templars made a voyage over here and also Columbus made a voyage over here? And the connection in the movie just now, I'll go back to the picture in a second, the connection is it was both efforts to conquer the empire to the far west. Now, I took the eye off the pyramid because that's a distraction. This pyramid is your pyramid, the pyramid of North America, of the Americas. This is the pyramid of the Americas. It has no apex like the pyramids over in Africa. Yes, I'm referring to the mounds. But I'm also trying to show you the mound builders from this empire right here. The builders from this empire right here. Watch this. Stay with me. The empires, I'm sorry, the kingdoms, the chiefdoms from this empire right here. Now, remember earlier I talked about the southeast region of the map. I'm going to show you the proportionate number of mounds were found in the southeast region. This symbol we're looking at right here, the symbol, the guy playing Columbus in the movie, we just saw the clip, him holding this symbol in his hand. That eye is like the promised land. That's the eye of God, they say. Gold, oil, and drugs, or governmental ordinance department. That's the governing authority. That's the eye of their God. This is the same eye that gave them the rights to manifest destiny. This is the same eye that gave them what was it called? The big Inquisition. What was it called? The papal bull that was issued. This sets up what will be later called the Magna Carta. And we're going to talk about the Magna Carta also. I'm going to show you about the Magna Carta. This is them conquering the empires over here. Let me show you where all the mounds were. We're saying mounds, but the mounds were pyramids. It's called a truncated pyramid. And you guys know I like to qualify my statement. So let me just show what I'm talking about here. I like to qualify everything I say. I don't want nobody to believe in me. Mound pyramids of America. Let's see if we can get a map of them. Oh, they went right to like a real map. Oh, that's right. Large proportion of these mounds, southeast region. And I point this out to show you that these mounds don't really go out west, or what they consider out west. They go out to Oklahoma territory, not out of California, Nevada, the desert area at all. Southeast region. Looking out at Florida, these mounds. These are damn near the same path as the hurricane. It's like the hurricane path right here. These are all the mounds. So this is the empire they found out about right here. We see that emblem on the back of a dollar bill. These are the pyramids they found out. Now let's go back and take a look at the movie again. That clip I had it on. Now let's see if it makes a little bit more sense. That he's staring at this right here. And there's the Masonic square and compass. There's the a holy book, Holy Bible looks like. I can't really tell what's in the middle like world. Looks like some type of emblem. You got the moon in the back. You have time, or the emblem that represents time. That this little thing that represents time represents Saturn. That hourglass, it represents Saturn. I like to qualify. I like to qualify what I say. So let's look up the hourglass in Saturn. The hourglass in Saturn. The hourglass in Saturn, also known as Father Time. I don't see Saturn. Father Time, personification of time. In recent century, he is used to depict the elderly bearded man, sometimes with wings, dressed in a robe, carrying a sthika and an hourglass or timekeeping device. As imagined, Father Time's origins are curious. The ancient Greek themselves began to associate Chronos, their word for time, with the god Kronos, who had the attributes of the harvest sickle, and the Roman equated Kronos with Saturn. So as I was saying, that hourglass represents Saturn. Let's go back to that so we can move on. You see the movie, how they're going through the Revolutionary War? They're going through all the wars. George Washington, the president, the Great Seal. This is the film National Treasure, by the way. Brought to you by Disney, of course. Hold on. So we can see some more clues. This was the big race. This was the big hunt. They're showing the Constitution in the movie because at the establishment of these companies I showed you earlier, remember the Virginia company, there's the Philadelphia company, they're constructing their form of corporate entity over these lands called North America. And remember who the first president was. He was a general under war power. These lands were seized under war power. Now, I'm going back from the different classes of warriors, from the soldiers of the Continental Army to the soldiers of the Hospitallers of the Knight Templars. These were all commanded and consecrated under the authority of the Catholic Church. These are also known as the Army of God. AKA the Army of God. What else is in here? But the entire point is the treasure was here in North America. The national treasure is your nationality. You've been dethroned. And you're no longer heirs to the vast estates that they come over here seeking. This is what the movie was about. I just wanted to show you those early clues to make sure you didn't miss this part right here when they're showing you the Inquisition coming. The same flag you see for the Inquisition is the same flag that was flown for the Knight Templars. Different crosses. One particular was called the Crestrian Cross, but they show you who they are, who they were. Columbus, upon discovery, this is the fat Italian. This is the Italian explorer right here, seeking the kingdom of the Americas. The great national treasure, the great national treasure, the divine conquest, with the permission and the consecration under the 1492 Indica Terra Convena, go conquer the empire. Let's move on. Now, let's see. Let's come back to North America. These are the wars, y'all. These are the wars. This one is called the Gullah War. Now, we are familiar with the term Gullah War, but how much do we actually know about the Gullah Wars? It's plural. Let's write down some timelines. The Gullah Wars are a series of conflicts fought between the Gullah Geechee people against their enslavers in the 18th and 19th century. That's the 17 and 1800s. Caddo's Rebellion, or Stono Rebellion, 1739. Caddo and other Gullah Geechee people fought their way to freedom, launching Gullah Wars. 1739 was the Gullah Wars. So let's write down 1739 and let's go back to King Philip's Wars and let's draw the timeline. 1678, King Philip's War supposedly ended under the Treaty of Costco Bay. Supposedly 1678. We got the Plymouth Colony or Plymouth Company claimed preeminent rights to the entirety of the Wampanoag country through early alliance with some of the native leaders like Squanto. Squanto was a member of the Patuxent tribe of the Wampanoags. Wampanoag was a nation, okay? Best known for being the early liaison between Native American population and the southern New England and Mayflower pilgrims who made their settlement on that site. So he was a liaison between them. It just caused me to wonder if our own people just sold us out, be they Native or Africa. Like, it's like our own people was our own undoing. And it's sad to me that's a thing. This is crazy. The Plymouth colony claimed preemptive rights to the entirety of the Wampanoag country through their early alliance with some native leaders like Squanto and Massa. However, English claim to the land relied entirely on misinterpretation of native leadership, which viewed, whatever that word is, as the native king of the land, despite the existence of other territorial claims under local leaders like Watimo. Let's read that again. However, English claim to the land relied entirely on misinterpretations of native leadership, which viewed as the native king of the land, despite the existence of other territorial claims under local leadership like Watimo. Subsequently, colonists found Salem, Boston, and many other small towns around Massachusetts Bay between 1628 and 1640, which I love where this is going because it's about to slingshot me right into the religious folks who came over here during this time. So let's read about this a little bit, and let's go back a little bit, and let's come forward a little bit. And we're doing great, by the way. We're doing great, by the way. Subsequent colonists found that Salem and Boston, and particularly Salem, we know about the Salem witch trials, right? This is crazy. Subsequently, colonists found that Salem and Boston and many small towns around Massachusetts Bay between 1628 and 1640, during the time of increase of English immigration. This is a study flow of Ellis Island. They are the true immigrants. Okay, they're not from here. Europeans are not from here. The colonists progressively expanded throughout the territories and of the several Algonquian-speaking tribes in the region. Prior to King Philip's War, tension fluctuated between native tribes and colonists. The Narragansettians fought alongside English colonists in the Pequot War. Let's look up who the Narragansettians are, because we already looked up who the Wampanoag are. And I'm so excited I'm able to say Narragansett, because that's a tongue twister. I got excited just saying Narragansett. I was excited that I recognized the Narragansett. Let's look up the Narragansett. Oh, there they go. There they go. Okay. Okay. You guys see what's happening. Hold on. My bad. I'm not sharing the screen. My fault, fam. I'm looking up the Narragansett. Here we go. They go to Narragansettians. Okay. Narragansett people. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying nothing. If y'all notice, anytime I've shown you what these Wampanoag, now the Narragansett look like. I didn't prime y'all up with no word language of they black, they copper color. I didn't use none of that terminology. All I did was pulled up the Narragansett people. I pulled up the Wampanoag people. It looks like to me the Wampanoag people and the Narragansett people look fairly like some people that look like me. That's all I'm saying. I pulled up the Wampanoag, pulled up the Narragansett. And this is important because these are the tribes that these Europeans are fighting. The fight comes from Europe to the shores of the Americas. But British, French, and Spanish or Spain, they are the coalition. They are the NATO of that time. And they came over here, much how NATO joined forces now to go put out fires in other countries. They were the early NATO forces. Spain, Britain, and France was the early League of Nations, and they still are a big seat of the League of Nations. They came over here, warring against this kingdom, conquered these lands. I'm just showing you the people who they conquered. Now we know that this YT, right? I don't even know why that's in there. That's somebody's uncle. That's somebody's uncle right here. Good point, Nate. Great point. Great point. And that's what I'm trying to demonstrate. Following rule. And that's why I told you about King Charles and King James and King George. They're issuing out land charters and they're financing the colonies to populate and to spawn other European immigrants and set up shop. They are giving them pieces of paper to land. And King George never stepped foot over here. He didn't have to. King James never stepped foot in North America. Under what jurisdictional authority did they gain right to just give out our land? That should be the question. Because remember, when those European immigrants were first coming over here, they was getting something called head rights. Head right is a legal grant of land to persons who claim it, given settlers during the European colonization of America. The head right system was a significant factor in the expansion of the American colonies before the American Revolution. Just coming over here, you got what's called head rights. And some people got sponsored to come over here. And that sponsorship was called there it is right there. This is when you got sponsored to come over here. Indentured servitude is a labor contract. A labor contract. A labor contract. It's a contract. It's a contract. You have knowledge of why you're coming over here. You're well aware of why you're coming over here. You know why you're coming over here. There's no confusion on why you're coming over here. You wasn't kidnapped. You wasn't drug off nowhere. You voluntarily came and you signed a contract. Indentured servitude is a labor contract where a person works without pay for a set of period of time to repay the debt or loan. The contract, called an indentured, could be entered into voluntarily or imposed as a judicial punishment. The contract, called indentured, could be entered into voluntarily. Slavery was a choice. Choice. Oh, yeah, but It wasn't a choice for our people to administer. Our people was forced into slavery. Cut it out. Cut it out. Nobody forced into nothing. They agreed. And I can show you. Another time, another argument, I promise you I can show you. Now, were some people illegally detained and forced to work? Absolutely. That's not what I'm talking about. Indentured servitude was popular in the American colonies where many people worked in exchange for passage to America. And that's exactly what it was. It was an agreement. It was an agreement. Indentured servitude was popular in the American colonies where many people worked in exchange for passage to the America. The practice also existed in Canada, British colony, Fiji, Mauritius, Grenada, Malaysia, Trinidad, Tobago, Kenya, Guyana. There are different types of servitude, including free will or including free willers, king's passengers, and redemptors. The free willers, because slavery is a choice, it's of your own free will to be an indentured servant, to work without pay. That's what being a slave is, when you work without pay. That's it. Now, the harsh conditions and the beatment and the treatment, that's something totally separate, but just slavery is just working for free. But if you're a free willer, the king's passengers were people sent over to populate the colonies to help, get the economy going. Those were the king's passengers. The redemptors came over on the contract also. The length of servitude could be specified specific number of years until the servant reaches a certain age. That's also true. I want you guys to see that. That's all. But just for coming over here, they got what's called pet rights. They got access to the land automatically. So those are the Narragansett people. Let's go back to our section we was reading that. Continue. Where was that? It was under I think King Philip's War. I believe it was there. So we know about the Wampanoag Indians. I meant to get some numbers too. If you start looking at some of these numbers, you can put some stuff in perspective also of how many people were unalived during this first war. But make no mistake about it, the Europeans came over here out of a stint of war. Where are we going? Let's go back to the Knight Templars, and then we're going to come back over here. When we come back over here to America, we're going to deal with the War of 1812. No. We're going to deal with the Gullah Geechee Wars, and then the War of 1812 when we come back over to North America. But let's go back over to Europe for a second. And we just learned about the fact that Knight Templars were over here way before, in the 1300s. Knight Templars were over in North America. Let's learn about them real quick. In the year of 1118, French Knight Hughes de Payens created a military order along with 8 relatives and acquaintances, calling them the poor soldiers of Christ and Temple of Solomon, later known as the Knight Templars. And we don't have to go into grave detail of the Knight Templars. I just wanted to show you guys some of their paraphernalia. Remember that ship we just saw, right, with that cross? And they give you the different orders right here. The Knights of Malta, the Hospitallers. So don't just think that, excuse me, don't just think that when they came to the shores of North America, that they just came over here, I don't know, all in destitute. No. They came, just like Spain sent the conquistadors. See how everybody got their military? You see that the cross that the conquistadors got on their shield? You see that? These are the conquistadors. Now, the conquistadors and the Knight Templars, there's no difference. These are warriors. These are mercenaries. These are the Marine Corps. These are the foot soldiers for the Catholic Church to come over here and pillage and do an Inquisition under, what was it called? I cannot never think of the simple name of this thing. Doctrine of Discovery. The Papal Bull Integrità Convena issued by Pope Alexander VI. This is to be a third or fourth pope you should wrote down. I gave you Pope Clements, I think, Pope Innocent. Forgot the other pope I gave you earlier as well, but write down Pope Alexander VI. Write him down also, and go and look those people up. Look up those popes, and learn about who they were and who they are. It helps to put things in perspective when you now that I'm teaching you guys to look at the history as the British Empire, the Spanish Empire, the French Empire. Look at it like that, and the British, the Scottish, the French empires, as it relates to Freemasonry, did not come alongside until they went under what was called the United Grand Lodge of England. The United Grand Lodge of England.
According to Wikipedia,
They became the United Grand Lodge of England in 1717. And this is when Europe, France, they all decided to operate, not France, Europe and Scotland, they all decided to operate under one entity. Okay. Doctrine of Discovery. The Papal Bull Integrità issued by Pope Alexander VI on May 4th, 1493. Remember, 2 years later, Columbus set sail with this doctrine in his hand. Played a central role in the Spanish conquest of the New World. The document supported Spain's strategy to ensure its executive right to the lands discovered by Columbus. The document supported Spain's strategy. The document supported the strategy that Spain had. Part of that strategy, remember earlier, was to the defeat of Tripoli. They have to go to the halls of Montezuma. Remember Montezuma? Watch how I make it make sense for y'all. Watch this. It's coming. I feel it. Watch it make it. Watch this shit. This document gave Spain support to execute a mission to now Spain just got rid of the Moors in Spain. Now they're coming after the other side of the empire to completely annihilate the empire. To completely annihilate the empire. Okay, if Spain was the head of the snake, this was the body of the snake. They wanted to kill it completely. They wanted to completely topple the empire, but they could not do it under military might alone. Watch how they had to do it. It established demarcation lines on the 100 league west of Aranjuez and Cape Verde Islands assigned to Spain the exclusive rights to acquire territory, possession, and trade in all lands west of that line. All others were forbidden to approach the land west without special license from Spanish ruler, from the rulers of Spain. This effectively gave Spain monopoly on the land in the New World. 1493, they issued this document to give Spain a head start on these lands. Spain, 1493. A few years later, after 93, 1526. This is in North America, the Southeast region. Remember, we're talking about Georgia, South Carolina, that Southeast region of North America. I know Spain came to Puerto Rico and they came to the other. I get all that. That's what I said. Columbus, there were no colonies established. They made contact in 1493, in 1494, in 1495. They were making contact, establishing comms, setting up the communication. Because remember, the Knight Templars had already been here since 1398 up in the northern part of North America. Okay. 1526, Spain now comes back with the vengeance. September 29th, 1526, Leon and 600 Spanish colonists landed on the coast of Georgia and brought the first enslaved Africans to the area. They brought the first enslaved Africans to the area. First time. No. Now, remember, this is 1526. This is the first time. If I'm wrong, please email me, the MOIpodcast.com. What other group besides the three superpowers, Spain, France, and Britain? Remember, Spain, France, and Britain, the superpowers, the coalition, the NATO. What other forces was over here establishing colonies prior to 1526? Listen to what I said. Establishing colonies, not just coming over here trading and high-fiving Indians. Who else was over here? So if they're saying this was the first enslaved Africans to the area of North America, we know that they've been bringing them to Central and South America prior to the 1526, but this is the first group of Africans who are stepping foot into North America by way of enslavement. I want to know how many Africans came over here, because I just showed you how they came over here under the Inca Terra Divina, under that charter. Let's go back to that real quick. This is how they came over here. Spain. And this is the real document. This ain't no, this don't make believe shit. It gave them exclusive rights to the lands discovered by Columbus. Columbus was sent over here on a scout mission in 1492. He came back with this They came back with this charter, and then later they brought the conquistadors. They brought the conquistadors later. All others were forbidden to approach the lands. The bull stated, listen to what they stated in the bull. So now you see who's really running the show. The bull stated any lands not inhabited by Christians was available to be discovered, claimed, exploited by Christian rulers, and declared that the Catholic faith and the Christian religion be exalted and everywhere else increase and spread, that the hat of the souls be cared for, and the barbarous nations be overthrown and brought to the faith itself. The barbarous nations to be overthrown. What barbarous nation, Minister? What barbarous nation? This nation. This nation. This nation. This nation. Y'all see these mounds? Look at that. Y'all see this? From the halls of Montezuma, from the shores of Tripoli, when they set up the 1493 Intercartera Convena and they exited the Moors out of Spain, they did a counter, what do you call it? A lateral move to do the same thing in the far west. This is the lateral move to conquer the other parts over here of the kingdom. The kingdom was such a vast kingdom. Huge. Under Christian ruler, declared the Catholic faith. Listen to the language. The bull stated that any land not inhabited by Christians. Christianity wasn't that far yet. Any land not inhabited by Christians. So now Christians feel like they have the right to conquer these lands. True or false? We have the Puritans. The Puritans were a group of English Protestants in the 16th and 17th century who sought reform from the Church of England. The Puritans believed the Church of England was too similar to the Roman Catholic Church and should eliminate practices not based on the Bible. They believed that God would protect them if they obeyed the religious laws. 1620, 1630, some of the Puritans migrated to the New World. There's that language again. We just saw the term New World in the statement, the Papal Bull Intercartera Convena of 1493. Now they're also in 1620 still calling it the New World. Puritans migrated to the New World, practiced their religion freely. They established Massachusetts Bay Colony. Why am I highlighting Massachusetts Bay Colony? Massachusetts Bay Colony is also the territory I just told you about, Chief Metacom and the Wampanoags. Puritanism laid the foundation in religious, intellectual, and social order. A New England aspect of Puritanism have lasting impact on American life. See what the pilgrim hat on? These are Puritans. These are not pilgrims. They made a pilgrimage. They call them pilgrims. It was a group of religious free thinkers escaping the radicalism of England at the time. They just converted the King Henry VIII Bible to the King James Bible, and the Puritans did not like that one bit at all. Like, they were against the whole situation. Why did the Puritans leave England? The Puritans left England to escape religious persecution, they say. Freedom of worship, economic opportunity. The American wilderness offered more economic opportunities. The Pilgrims were a Protestant group who believed the Church of England needed to reform. This came out of the Reformation era with Martin Luther. All this shit is going on at the same time, family. All this stuff is happening at the same time. So while in the 1600s you have wars that are starting to happen with the ancestors of North America, particularly the Wampanoag, who I just showed you what they look like, and the Natchez, and I can show you the Gullah here in a second, and I can show you the Yamacraw and the Seminole, which I will show you those groups. So as I'm going down the coast of the Southeast region, I'm showing you the people who did the fighting, and I'm showing you the persecutors and the ideology. Once the Puritans came to America, they came with that same ideology that was put out by Spain. If this was not a Christian territory, they was going to Christianize your ass. So what happened, a lot of our people here, because of their practices were declared to be pagan practices. And the Puritans did not like the practices of our ancient forefathers and foremothers on the shores of North America as they were being expressed. And I'm talking about African practices too. Because when I get to the Geechee Gullah and the Maroon, who were amalgamated amongst the Caribs, I'm going to show you where they come from too. So this cultural practice of expression was not deemed to be up the cloth by the Puritans. So I want you to just take a look at the Puritans. Just take a look at what they look like. Look at their clothing, their hats. Look how the women look. Look at the long ass socks. Look at the hats, the neckerchief around the neck. Okay, their posture. Okay. Now, let's look at another Inquisition the Puritans started against the Native Americans in North America. This is an Inquisition that they started. Salem witch trials. See? Same people. Look at the hats. Look at the neckerchief around the collars. Look at the long ass socks. Look at how the women dress. Now we know what the Salem witch trials is about, but who were they calling the witches? It wasn't their people. It was the indigenous Native Americans. They were calling them witches because they could take herbs out of the forest and cure a headache. They could manipulate nature by boiling certain elements, taking ginger and magnesium and just natural holistic. There was holistic practices of the land. The Puritans in that area, however, declared that shit witchcraft. So in that passage we was just reading, what told you that the areas of Boston and Salem is where the Puritans settled. We'll go back to that in a second. This was an Inquisition right here. The infamous Salem witch trial during the spring of 1692 after a group of young girls in the Salem Village, Massachusetts, claimed to be possessed by the devil and accused several local women of witchcraft. That's a distinctive comment. They identified the girls of the Salem Village, but then there were other local women of witchcraft. Who were the 19 witches? Let's go back to the Puritans. Where did the Puritans settle in America? New England, primarily Massachusetts Bay, Salem, Massachusetts. 1630, a group of Puritans left practice. Who else was in Boston, Massachusetts? Metacom's War. Sorry. Chief Metacom's War. Let's find the location. Remember, Southern New England. Let's get more specific and see if these people were there too. There you go. The Wampanoag was also in the area too. Let's go forward. Let's go back to Europe. Remember earlier, I was going to mention some barons. We're almost through. We're like 2 hours in. I want to take time to thank all of you guys for tapping in. Remember, this Sunday, I got a special guest coming on this Sunday. The High Priest Antoine. He's going to break down the geometrium. I'm going to be interviewing him this Sunday, 5 p.m. right here on the platform. Set your reminders, please. Set your reminders to tap in, man. This brother is phenomenal. Phenomenal is an understatement. This brother is amazing. I do have a link, I believe, in my bio. Click that link if you want to schedule your own session with this brother. He actually does sessions. He breaks down in geometry. He basically takes your name and does numeric reading, and it's so accurate, man, to where it's mind-blowing how accurate his readings are. So he'll be here Sunday at 5 o'clock. Be sure to tap in with me with that information. Also, if you're not following me on TikTok, the Minister of Information, I'm at my 4,000 mark. So excited, looking to get 10,000 by the end of the year. It's looking very possible. I'm on my way to 5,000 already. I need that 10K so I can do some amazing things over on TikTok as well. So if you're not following me on TikTok, come check me out on TikTok as well. And of course, man, check the attire out. It's approved. My hoodies are coming in. I ordered a couple of my own hoodies. Like I was so excited that I went on my site and bought my own hoodies, which is not a bad thing. Like you got to support yourself. But if you're interested in copying these hoodies, definitely shoot me an email at the M.O.I podcast. There it is right here. The M.O.I podcast at gmail.com. Shoot me an email and I'll send you the website link. The link is also shared in the bio as well. So be sure to check that out, man. I appreciate y'all support ahead of time. Now, back to the lesson. The first Baron War. The Barons. Oh man. Let's see who the Barons are. And see, there are going to be a couple of documents that you have to remember. So I want you to go back and why do I keep blinking now on what's that called? What's the other name of it? Because I always know it as the Intercatera Convena. The 1493 Papal Bull. I always do that. That is crazy. Sweet Jesus. Y'all got to forgive me. The Doctrine of Discovery. The Doctrine of Discovery. The Doctrine of Discovery, 1493. Circle that. Magna Carta. Write down Magna Carta. Not talking about Jay-Z's album. His song. Write down Magna Carta. We're going to talk about the Magna Carta. But see, I just did it again. The Doctrine of Discovery, 1493, and the Magna Carta is going to become two intricate documents that's going to help us decode a lot of this information. I'm just clearing out some of my tabs so we can move on smoothly here. But baron. Let's see what a baron or who a baron is. In the Kingdom of England, a feudal baron or baron by tenure was the highest degree of feudal land tenure, namely per barondom, under which landholder owed the service of being one of the king's barons. The duties owed by privilege granted feudal barons. Let's keep going because this is necessary to understand what a baron is. In the Kingdom of England, a feudal baron or baron by tenure was the highest degree of feudal land tenure. This is under the feudal system, which we still operate under, whether you believe it or not. All of the 48 colonies are under a charter, either a royal charter or Lord Proprietary. The last known Lord Proprietary was in 1663 for the Carolina territory. Okay. The first such of something like this in North America, I'm going to show you in a minute, under Lord Baltimore. Shouts out to Baltimore, by the way. Shouts out to all the cities that still represents the English crown, like Charlotte and Charleston and Georgia. They still represent the English royal colony. Charlotte definitely represents the English colony. Baltimore represents the English colony, bearing the name of Lord Baltimore. I'm gonna show you who he is also, but let's learn about these barons real quick. Which was the highest degree of feudal land tenure, namely par barondom, Latin for by baron, under which landholder owed the service of being one of the king's barons. The duties by the privilege granted to feudal barons are not exactly defined, but they involve the duty of providing soldiers to the royal feudal army on demand by the king, and the privilege of attendance at the king's feudal courts, and the magnum concilium, the prosecutor of parliament. Okay. So basically, the baron or a land baron, or it's called a feudal baron, they have to provide soldiers for the royal army on demand. That would be equivalent to the National Guard of each colony, or what's called militias. The baron of the land. Now, I'm going to go into who the governor is. The governor ends up becoming the, he's the baron. But he's a lord or landlord. These are feudal landlords. The barons are feudal landlords. If I'm not making sense to you, just hold on for 1 second. I got you. Crown land. Crown land, also known as royal dominion, is the territory area belonging to the monarch who personifies the crown. It is equivalent of entitled estate and passed with the monarchy, being inspirable from it. Today in Commonwealth realms, crown land is considered public lands. Why am I showing you that? That was very important. If the estate and land held by a barony contains a significant castle, and if it's especially large, consisting of more than 20 knights, then it is termed honor. The typical honor had properties scattered over several shires, intermingling with properties of others. They're talking about counties and cities and municipalities, territories over a realm. I'm just giving you the translation of what they're talking about. So they set up a colony gets its charter, it becomes a state or a state. And everybody inside that demarcation territory of a state are known as serfs or citizens of that state. And the governor governs as the lord proprietor or as the feudal land baron of that territory. If that makes sense. The term honor is particularly useful in the 11th and 12th century before the development of an extensive peerage hierarchy. Let's learn what this is, because then you'll learn where Black folks slide in at. A peerage is a legal system historically comprised of various hereditary titles in a number of a country and composed of assorted noble ranks. This is your bloodline. This is how land is passed down, irrefutable through trust and things of that nature, but it's past your bloodline though. See, all this stuff was disconnected because this stuff was already set up over here under your kingdom, under your chiefdom, under your chiefs. We already have society set up and governed under our pyramid system. So what I'm tempted to show you is when they came over here to North America from Europe, the same implementation of hedge rights, of the Homestead Act, of them pushing people off the land, and then they're claiming the land under abandonment. And the fact that they issued charters for territories of Georgia and other territories, and they're operating off of fictitious de facto documentation. But that first documentation I showed you, which was the Papal Bull of 1493, that was the first documentation that gave rise to that notion that they can conquer lands under military might, Christendom, and with the blessings of the church. In the Kingdom of England, the feudal baron or baron tenure was the highest degree of feudal land tenures. The creation was by William the Conqueror, established a favorable follower as barons, evenins, and tenants and chiefs. I'm more focused on the barons though, for a particular reason. A baron is a rank of nobility or title of honor, often hereditary in the various European countries, either current or historical. The female equivalent is a baroness. Typically, the title denotes the aristocrat who ranks higher than the lord or knight, but lower as a viscount or count. Often the baron holds the fief. They have the money. A standard baron, that's something else different. All right, so that's about the barons. 1215, the First Baron War, was a civil war in the Kingdom of England, of which a group of rebellious major landowners, commonly referred to as barons, led by Robert Fitzwalter, waged a war against King John of England. The conflict resulted in King John's disastrous wars against King Philip II of France. There's King Philip again, which led to the collapse of the Angevin Empire and John's subsequent refusal to accept and abide by the Magna Carta, which John had sealed June 15, 1215. Let's learn about this Magna Carta, shall we? The Magna Carta, commonly referred to as Magna Carta, sometimes called Magna Carta, Charter of Rights agreed by King John of England at Runnymede near Windsor on June 15, 1215, first drafted by the Archbishop of Canterbury, Cardinal Stephen Langton, to make peace between the unpopular king and a group of rebel barons. It promised the protection of the church, rights protection for the barons from legal imprisonment, access swift and impartial justice, and limitation of feudal payment to the crown, to be implemented through the Council of the 25 Barons. Neither side stood for their commitments, as the charter would be annulled by Pope Innocent III, leading the First Barren War. After John's death, the Regency government and his young son, King Henry VIII, I'm highlighting King Henry VIII because this is the reason that the Puritans left Europe. See, King Henry VIII operated on what was called the Geneva Bible. Let me show you this and come back to this. King Henry VIII, the Geneva Bible. King Henry VIII's actions contributed to the production of the Geneva Bible in several ways. Ordering the Great Bible in 1538, Henry VIII ordered the clergy to place a large English Bible in the parsonage church. The Great Bible was the first authorization Bible of the English people and had based the work of William Tyndale, the Tyndale Bible. The Tyndale Bible is preceded by the Nova Testamentum, which was a transliteration of Greek from Hebrew to Greek, which was commissioned by Ptolemy II, which was Hebrew into Greek, and then Erasmus transliterated Greek into Latin prior to this King Henry VIII Bible. Caused tension. Henry VIII wanted the Bible that would support his authority, but the work of the Great Bible was done by Protestants. The Geneva Bible, remember, Puritans are Protestants. The Geneva Bible was the Bible that became the most common in English homes. The first English Bible translation entirely from Greek in Hebrew was produced by the Protestant scholar who fled to Geneva after Mary Tudors attempted to restore Catholicism. The Geneva Bible was very unpopular with the nobility in the church because of its margin notes and cross-reference. That's the Geneva Bible. Puritans left left Egypt. Hold on. My shit together. Puritans left England because of the Bible change. Now, I'm just showing you a quick reference. Let's see here. Hold on. The Puritans did not like the King James Version of the Bible. The Puritans did not like the King James Version of the Bible for several reasons. It commissioned by monarch, it commissioned by the king. It included the Apocrypha, the accuracy and style. The Geneva Bible, the Puritans preferred the Geneva Bible, which produced English Puritans into exile at Geneva in 1560. The Geneva Bible remained popular amongst Puritans until the end of the English Civil War. King James Bible gave people access to passages that were not usually read in the church, including the passages that limit the power of secular rulers like James. The King James Version was published in 1611. It slowed down the adoption, but eventually became the standard measure of all new translation. I make that connection to show you that the Puritans fled to the Americas due to this change also. They really only rock with the Geneva Bible. I just wanted to point out that King Henry VIII, who we just saw. All right, so we got the Magna Carta. King Henry VIII is mentioned. This is also dealing with the First Barren War. I'm giving you the First Barren War because now I'm going to give you insight to how rich barons finance the Crusades, which gives you the Knight Templars, which is going to slingshot you back over to America and set up some more feuding in America before we finally take you across the exile of the Indian Removal Act. Is all this relevant? Is all this going on? Is all this even connected? I'm telling you it's connected. I'm telling you on the war power, this is connected. On the Catholic Church is connected. On the 1493 Papal Bull, this is all connected. Did we really get into what the Magna Carta is? I don't think we did. Let's get into the Magna Carta. It was a peace treaty agreed at Lambeth, where the document acquired the name Magna Carta to distinguish it from the similar from the smaller charter of forests, which issued at the same time. Short of funds, Henry reassured the charter again in 1225 in exchange for a grant of new taxes. His son Edward I repeated the exercise in 1297, at the time confirming it as part of English statute law. However, the Magna Carta was not unique. Other legal documents at the time, but both in England and beyond, broadly similar statements of the rights of limitation of power to the crown. The reason I'm showing you this because I want to point something out in a second, which is right here. Although this historical account was badly flawed, jurists such as Sir Edward Coke used the Magna Carta extensively in the 17th century, arguing against divine rights of the king. Both James and Charles attempted to suppress the discussion of the Magna Carta. The political myth of the Magna Carta and its protection of ancient personal liberties persisted after the Glorious Revolution of 1688 until well into the 19th century. It influenced early American colonists, the 13 colonists, in the formation of the United States Constitution, which became supreme law of the land of the new Republic of the United States. That's why I wanted you to write down the Magna Carta. Now I'm tying in the 13 colonies. Now I'm tying in the Puritans. Now I'm tying in the Inquisition. I'm showing you these doctrines. Magna Carta in the Intercaetera Convena 1493. Now there was another one called Demversi also, but let's stick to the barons. There's Pope Innocent. See, Dr. John Henry Clark said, if you want to understand history, you got to study the world history. And this history of Western civilization, Western history, if y'all were to take time to study some Western history, man, I understand African history is interesting. I understand that the Native American culture of North America and the Mayan temples. And if y'all just please study European history. If y'all please study European history. And they say our people don't like to read. So a lot of them don't worry about all of us studying the history. But I'm reading all of it. I'm showing you all of it. Now, let me point out a baron. And remember earlier I told you about Solomon ben Isaac, not Solomon Baron. I don't know who the heck that was. I'm not gonna go through all this, but I want you guys to write down. If you already wrote it down, Solomon ben Isaac. He was an important figure as far as it went with what was called the Talmud. The Talmud, it's not the Torah. The Talmud is the verbal, kind of like the New Testament is. It's the word is not really God talking, it's men talking. In Islam, I forgot what they called it. The Hadith. It's like the Hadith. It's what the Talmud is. But Solomon ben Isaac was a rich baron who directly influenced the wars, such as the Crusades. Solomon ben Isaac. Not too special, but I want you guys to write him down so you guys can associate him with the Crusades. He was a financier, one of the barons, one of the land barons. All right, that's all that was. All right, let's come back to America and let's wrap this up. We're back in America now. We're in the 1800s. Now, a lot more stuff happened in the 1600s and the 1700s. But for the sake of time, I asked you guys to do your own due diligence, do your own research on the 1600s to 1700s, the wars, the skirmishes. The Seminole Wars was in the 1700s, by the way. I'm sorry, not the Seminole Wars. The Yamakra, Yamasee Wars. But let's talk about the War of 1812. Did I skip over? I did. Apologize, family. Let's go here first. Gullah Wars. There we go. 1700s, the Gullah Wars. Then we'll go to the War of 1812. 1715, the Yamasee people and the Geechee Gullah people. There's two different tribes who fought and won the first three successful. They won the first three wars against the European invaders. The Black Seminole, in reality, the Geechee Gullah Africans who escaped from the rice plantations in South Carolina and Georgia, they built their own settlement on the Florida frontier, fought a series of wars to preserve their freedom, and scattered across North America. The Gullah War, 1739 to 1858. Now, I can show you who these people are. And the reason right here, it says the Yamasee people and Geechee Gullah people. I can show you why it says that. Because of this right here. Because of this. The enslaved Africans brought to settlers became the first documented black slaves who would come to the continent of the United States and carry out the first slave rebellion. I think it tells us how many came over here too. Give me a second. Let me find it real quick. In 1521, he dispatched Francisco Guerrero. He came inland in 1521 and made landfall to Wyndham Bay. That's in Georgia, off the coast of South Carolina. Off the coast of South Carolina. After preliminary exploration of the region, they kidnapped 70 Indians from this area of South Carolina in 1521. I thought somewhere they had wrote down how many. Give me 1 second. I think they had mentioned how many Africans they brought over here. It was a small number, but let's go here. September 29th, 1526, the settlement was Christian San Domingo observed the feast of Saint Michael the Archangel. Guadalupe was likely referenced the local Gaul tribe, a chieftain that was part of the Mississippian culture. Now, let's take a look at who the Geechee Gullah people are. I showed you the Wampanoag. I showed you the Natchez. It's only fair that I show you what these people look like also. I think that'll be very fair. But they say their tribe, their chieftain was a part of a bigger culture called the Mississippian culture. And look at that map. Look at that map. How are you? How are you? Good, good, good. Look at that map. I'm almost done. That's the entire southeastern region of North America. That's the entire southeast region right here. They said that these gold people were part of the chieftain that was a part of the Mississippian culture, and this is the Mississippian culture, was a Native American civilization that flourished in what is now Midwestern, Eastern, and Southeastern United States from approximately 800 to 1600, varying regionally. It was known for building large earthen platform mounds. I told you this is the empire that they came after. Remember earlier I showed you Columbus had that coin with the half pyramid on top. This is those are the pyramid mounds right there. This is the kingdom that they was coming over to conquer. This is why the Inquisition Convena of the Papal Bull of 1493, the Doctrine of Discovery, this is why this was put forth to come over here and conquer these lands. Hold on, let me switch screens. So let's keep these lands right here in mind as I switch back to this, drawing the connection. And it's a lot. I know it's a lot, so I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Let's read it again. The lands discovered by Columbus, it established a demarcation line 100 leagues west of Azores and Cape Verde Islands assigned to Spain. It gave them exclusive rights to acquire territory, possess, and trade in all lands west of that line. All others are forbade to approach. The bull stated any land not inhabited by Christians were available to be discovered, claimed, exploited. Christian rulers had and declared that the Catholic faith and Christian religion be exalted and be everywhere else increased to spread, that the heath of souls be cared for, the barbarous nations be overthrown. These that map were the Berber nations. They call them the Berber nations. It was the entire nation, kingdom, realm be overthrown and brought to a faith itself. The Doctrine of Discovery became the basis of all European claims in the Americas, as well as the foundation of the United States. Western expansion in the U.S. Supreme Court, 1823, Johnson versus McIntosh, Chief Justice John Marshall opinion in an unanimous decision held that the principle of the doctrine gave European nations absolutely right to New World lands. There was a Supreme Court case in 1823. In case you want to look that up, that's how important this 1493 doctrine is. It still holds true to today. That's why I'm telling y'all these kingdoms that were set up, like under the charter that was in Georgia and Carolina, those charters are called royal colonies. And those royal colonies still belong to the crown under the Doctrine of Discovery. And the financiers to get people over here were companies that were financed by bankers or barons who became the Templars, who implemented the banking system and trading and the marginalization of trading and capitalism, which started as merchantism, which was they were merchants. The bull Intercatera made headlines again through the 1990s and in 2000 when the Catholic petition Pope John Paul II formally revoked it, recognized the human rights of indigenous non-Christian people, and that's the DRIP Act. That was your time to say who you were. I mean, it still is. But when Pope John Paul II revoked that act, it was called the DRIP Act. This is the DRIP Act. So all you folks saying that you're Indian, Native American, over on TikTok and everywhere else, and your grandma was Indian, this is them telling you, okay, we shouldn't have did that. We should have never done that. Just like we, where is it at? Just like we shouldn't have done this. See, there's no difference between the Inquisition Convena and the Indian Removal Act. Come on now. You already know it. Come on, man. I'm trying to make this make sense for y'all. Is y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Yes. Yes, Mo. Now you start to see why the hold on. Give me a second. All right. But see, I gotta teach now. Right? Now, do y'all see why this right here ends up becoming this right here? But this right here comes from this right here. A lot of y'all didn't catch that. So this becomes this. Let me show y'all how. Let me show y'all how. It's long, babe. It's long. It's long. Let me see how I want to demo this. George Washington is quoted saying, if we agree to take the fezzes and the turbans off their heads and remove the sandals from their feet, they won't know who they are. If we agree to take the fezzes off, the fezzes and the turbans off their heads and remove the sandals from their feet, I think they said, and enforce it. Let me get the whole thing for y'all real quick so you guys can check this out. And this is George Washington, by the way. Okay.
The so-called Great George Washington was quoted saying, if you would agree to take the fezzes and turbans off the Moors' heads and remove the sandals from their feet and enforce severe punishments, and to also swear a death oath between ourselves to religiously and faithfully not to allow anyone to teach the Moorish children who they really were or who their forefathers were, and only allow the Moorish children to be taught that they were truly Negroes, black people, and colored folks. 200 years from today, the Moorish people would not know their nationality, nor the national name of their forefathers. Also, they would not know from which land or ancestors they descended from.
That becomes this. Hold on. Let me pull this shit back up for y'all. This becomes the great Masonic secret. This is the great Masonic secret. That's how this becomes this. And that's why the story of Spain and Tripoli and the homes of Montezuma is all connected, and the war goes on and on and on. It's like 3,000 years of history. At least 3,000 years of history. It's at least that long. Let me pull this back up real quick. So, as you can see, long-standing wars, a lot of fighting, a lot of skirmishes. And these Indian wars were the tribes trying to protect the kingdom, trying to protect the nation. These were tribes trying to protect the nation. So don't just look at these as little small skirmishes. They were trying to protect their crown over here. Emblem of America. These folks, these empires been here. That's why they can show you a picture like this called the emblem of America. That's how they can do that. And you can relate to copper-colored people being here. But these were chiefdoms and kingdoms. And these chiefdoms and kingdoms went to war for a very long time to fight back against foreign invasion. Years. I want you guys to really research the Indian Wars. As America-Indian Wars occur intermittently over a span of 315 years of fighting. 315 years of fighting. That means they were not losing. 300 of those years, we were not losing. We were holding our ground. We were holding our ground for 300 years, easily. They had conquistadors. Watch this. Conquistadors. What the hell? Red Sticks. The name derived from the red paint war club of the Native American Creeks refers to an early 19th century tradition factual of Muskegee Creek people. And we even got to the Muskegee people in the Coweta. We're in the top of Georgia right now. Creek was a nation. Also, Creek Nation had a multitude of individuals as well. Man, this is crazy. 19th century traditional faction of Muskegee Creek people in the southeastern region of the United States. We're not going to leave that area. Made up mostly of Creek upper towns and support of traditional leadership and culture, as well as the preservation of communal land for cultivating and hunting. The Red Sticks arose at a time of increasing pressure on Creek territory by European American settlers. Creek of the lower towns were closer to settlers, had more mixed race families, and already had been forced to make land secessions to the Americas. In context, the Red Sticks led resistance movements against European American encroaching assimilation. Tensions that accumulated in the outbreak of the Creek War of 1813. I was going to go to the War of 1812 first and go back to 1813, the Creek Wars. We can talk about the Creek Wars real quick. The Creek Wars, a regional conflict between opposing Native American factions, European powers, United States during the early 19th century. The Creek Wars began as a conflict within the tribes of Muskegee from the United States, quickly becoming involved. British traders and Spanish colonial officials in Florida supplied the Red Sticks with weapons and equipment due to their shared interest in preventing the expansion of the United States into a regional control of their own. The Creek Wars took place largely in modern-day Alabama. I'm going to read about 2 more minutes and show you something very interesting. The Creek Wars took place largely in modern-day Alabama. So the Creek Wars, we're talking about Alabama. Along the Gulf Coast, major engagements of the war involvement in the United States military and the Red Sticks, Upper Creeks, the Muskogee tribe factions who resisted the U.S. territory expansion. The United States formed an alliance with traditional enemies of the Muskogee, the Choctaw, and Cherokee nations, as well as Lower Creeks factions and Muskegees. During the hostile, and the Red Sticks allied themselves with the British. The Red Sticks forced the British naval officer Alexander Conquering advanced towards New Orleans. The Creek War effectively ended in August of 1814 with the signing of the Treaty of Fort Jackson, when Andrew Jackson forced the Creek Confederacy to surrender more than 21 million acres, what is now southern Georgia and central Alabama. 21 million acres of land forcibly surrendered. This is in 1813. Okay? Press 222 if you're still with me. Give me a 222 in the comments if you're still with me. We just can't talk about the Indian Removal Act without understanding what happened prior to the Indian Removal Act. This was like the last stronghold of the empire. This was not the last stronghold of the empire. This was the decline. This was the decline of the empire at this point right here. Spain had already took over Montezuma, and the Aztec Mayan Empire had failed. De Soto and Cortez had pretty much went through this southern region of America prior through New Orleans. Spain owned. I'm gonna show you this how much Spain owned. And you notice over here it says Spanish Empire, right? The Spanish Empire, sometimes referred to as the Hispanic monarch or Catholic monarch, was a colonial empire that existed between 1492, Columbus, Doctrine of Discovery, and 1976. In conjunction with the Portuguese Empire, it ushered in the European Age of Discovery. It achieved a global scale control of a vast proportion of land. I would presume that it would say. And then you had the British Empire. These were empires. They call them confederacies over here. Andrew Jackson forced the Creek Confederacy to surrender more than 21 million acres of land South Georgia and Middle Alabama. According to historian John K. Mahone, the Creek War was much a civil war among the Creeks as between the red and white. This is when the displacement of the darker Creeks, because I'm going to show you something in a second, where the Creeks promise. The Freedman Creek Indians were liberated prior to 1865. I want to say a little bit 2 years prior under this situation. So the skirmish between the Creek Nation, then they began to pick on where you ain't light enough and you ain't, you know what I'm saying? Then the blood rule and the crazy stuff starts to happen where the separation of the family starts. It's the classic divide and conquer. The war also continuation of the Testament War, a conflict between the United States and the Testament Confederacy by the Shawnee leader in Indian Territory. This is the Battle of 1811. This is another war between so-called Indians and these Europeans. This was a battleground. So understanding this, it makes it easy to understand the Civil War was like one of the last major wars fought on this territory. But they had been doing this since the 1500s. 1526, the Spanish Empire, which is still highlighted right here, since 1526, with their first colony in Georgia, or South Carolina, they rebelled. They've been fighting for a long time. And these are the American Black Indian Wars. We haven't got out west to the Alamo and those other wars yet. That's 1850, 1849, that's a little bit later down the road. under Western expansion. In the Old Northwest, and although the conflict framed within century-long American Indian Wars, it is usually more identified and considered the inaugural part of the War of 1812, which we're going to go right into that right now. The War of 1812, the United States and its allies against the United Kingdom, and the allies of North America. It began when the United States declared war on Britain. I thought that was in 1776 during the Declaration of Independence and all that stuff. I thought we fought British, we fought them again. This time they're here. They're on this territory because some of the territory out west belonged to Britain. Let me see if they say it real quick. They're not gonna. No, so I'm gonna take it there then. This is the War 1812. There it is right here. The treaty, the peace treaty. The Treaty of Ghent. The Treaty of Ghent was a peace treaty that ended the War of 1812 between the United States and the United Kingdom. It took effect February 1815. Both sides signed it on December 24th, 1814, in the city of Ghent, United Netherlands, and the treaty restored relationship between the two parties. The war did not officially end until the peace treaty was ratified by the United States Congress in 1815. Now, let's look at something really quick because everybody's fighting. And Andrew Jackson just got all that 21 million acres of land, right? When was Andrew Jackson president?
According to Wikipedia, Andrew Jackson was
Conveniently, Andrew Jackson is now the president in 1829, which is about 8 years after the War of 18. I'm sorry. Yeah, about 8, not even 8 years. What, 1812, 1815, 16, 17, 18, 20, 5, almost 10 years down the road. Andrew Jackson then become the president, the 17th president, 17th president of the United States. We know that Lincoln was the 14th president, right? Andrew Jackson comes along and he gives us the Indian Removal Act. The Indian Removal Act, signed into law by President Andrew Jackson on May 28, 1830, authorized the forced relocation of Native American tribes from their ancestral lands in the southeastern United States. We're not going to leave that place, I promise you. This is the same place I showed you with Mississippian culture where all those mounds were. Same location. Lands west of Mississippi, effectively dispatching them from their traditional homelands and leading to tragic event known as the Trail of Tears. They're forcibly being removed. This act resulted in the displacement of thousands of Native Americans from tribes like the Cherokee, Choctaw, Creek, Seminole, Chickasaw. During that time, let's look at some Chickasaw. Let's see if we can identify some of these folk. Let's see if we can identify some of these folk they talking about. Uh-oh. Look at these Chickasaw folks. Can y'all see them? Look at these Chickasaw. I'm just showing you Seminole. I'm just showing you the people who they said got put off the land. Look right here. They brought the Seminoles in by way of boats. The Seminole Indians got removed by way of ships. And that's 1835. 1835. Watch this. The second domestic slave trade. Commonly known as the second Middle Passage. Hold on. That was 1835, right? Watch this. Look at that same territory. Same territory. See, if you just study this territory, there's so much history in this territory right here. And I'm showing you the Chickasaw, I'm showing you the Seminole. I'm showing you the people that were here, the Geechee Gullah. We all know what the Geechee Gullah looked like. I'm showing you the people who were here when the Spanish colonists got here, when the English colonists got here, when Andrew Jackson did the Indian Removal Act, which let's read what the second domestic slave trade says. The second domestic slave trade was a forced migration, well known as domestic or internal slave trade, in the 7th decade between the ratification of the Constitution of the 1787 and Civil War. It happened from 1787 to 1861. The historian Walter Johnson tells us in his book, Soul by Soul, life inside the antebellum market, approximately 1 million. 1 million, approximately 1 million people. And this is just internal. This is just internal to this region. Remember, Andrew Jackson just got the territory of central Alabama and Georgia, over 21 million acres. He comes back. He comes back with the Indian Removal Act. With the Indian Removal Act in 1830. The purpose was to clear land in the Southeast for white settlement by forcing Native American tribes to move to Indian Territory in present-day Oklahoma. The impact, as a result, it displaced thousands. I just showed you millions of people got transported on the transatlantic slave trade after this happened. But thousands got misplaced. Cherokee, Choctaw, Creek, Seminole, Chickasaw, many dying during their forced relocation. Authorizing the president to grant lands west of the Mississippi in exchange for Indian lands within existing state borders. What is interesting is there's another treaty that was involved that you may not know about. This particular treaty was an agreement between the United States and a small group of Cherokee, in which the Cherokees gave up their lands east of the Mississippi in exchange for money and new lands in Indian Territory in Oklahoma. This is in 1835. Indian Removal Act, some of it was voluntary. Remember the voluntary state? This is voluntarily giving up land. The other shit they just took. Once the land was cleared off, it became abandoned land, but the purpose was for Jackson to set it up for white settlers to come in. Those white settlers did come in too and set up shop. By a small group of Cherokee, including Cherokee leaders, Major Ridge and Cherokee Chief Standing Watty. The signer became known as the Treaty Party. The treaty was opposed by the majority of the Creeks who protested. The treaty was illegal. Cherokee Chief John Ross denounced the treaty and protested as an act of injustice and oppression. The United States ratified the treaty on May 23rd, 1836 by a single vote. The treaty set a 2-year deadline for Cherokees to be removed from their lands. In 1838, the War Department, write down 1838 War Department. 1838 War Department. Write that down. The War Department ordered General Winfield Scott to remove the remaining 2,000 Cherokee into Indian Territory. War Department ordered General Winfield Scott to remove the remaining 2,000 Cherokee to Indian Territory. I wanted you guys to highlight War Department for a reason. It sets up Special Field Order number 15. 30 years later. 30 years later. If there's any question about who got removed off the lands in 1838, if there's ever any question, if you think that those tribes I just showed you with copper-colored people looking like me and you, if you still doubt that those were the people who got pushed off the lands of Northeast Territory. Oh, I was going to show you something about Alabama too. I'm sorry about that. I remember just now. Remember about Alabama. The famous black warrior Chief Tuscaloosa. Chief Tuscaloosa. Black warrior. But that's a whole nother skirmish. Special Field Order number 15. It said land, confiscated land from Charleston, South Carolina to St. Johns River in Florida, including Georgia, Sea Islands, and mainland 30 miles from the coast, roughly 400,000 acres of redistributed land to newly freed black families. So they pushed the Indians out and gave it back to the black families, or did they give it back to the black Indian families who were already there? That's what happened. Indian Removal Act, they pushed you off the land under what was called the Trail of Tears. They invited you back to the land in 1865. Those same Negro Indians. The order encouraged enlistment of freedmen and black people to remain in their chosen vacations in certain cities. President Andrew Johnson, however, revoked the order. So it never happened. It never even happened. They took it in the 30s. They took it. 16th president shows up, Lincoln, under the War Department. The War Department issued field orders called general orders. That's why you see people like General Sherman, Field Order 15, because he was part of the War Department. The War Department also produces something called the Freedmen's Bureau, also for the reestablishment of these Negro nations of the southeast region of South America. If we look at these people as regional representatives of a fallen nation, if we view these people as representatives of a fallen nation, let's pretend that these people are from a sovereign nation. They have dignity. They're not just slavers and a bunch of slave people and vagabonds. And let's pretend that they were a prestigious nation that fell in 1830. This was the final straw. This is the Indian Removal Act. This is us getting rid of all of them. 1830 to get rid of all of them. How in the hell do we get people like him? How did we get Hiram rebels shortly after the Civil War in the 60s? If they offer us to come back on the land in 35, that was revoked. How 30 years later do we get people like Hiram rebels and Blanche and Bruce? How do we get these people? How does South Carolina get an all-black government? Because this is the fallen empire. This was the restoration for the empire right here. These individuals were the restorers of the vast estate. I want you guys to take a look at the time frame that they were involved. After the Civil War, Smalls returned to Bedford and became a politician, winning the election as a Republican in South Carolina legislation, the United States House of Representatives during the Reconstruction era. He authored states legislation provided South Carolina to have the first free and compulsory public school system in the United States. He was the founder of the Republican Party of South Carolina. How are we doing this right after the Civil War? Because these are just remnants of the empire. After this happened, to regain control and regain power, that's when they begin to implement things such as the Black Codes after the fact. It said, although Black Codes existed before the Civil War, the best known laws were passed in the southern states in between 65 and 66. Because in 65 and 66, that's when we was running the South. We had regained control. We had regained control of the South. What do they call it? The prostate states. The book influenced many Northern white Republicans to abandon support for Reconstruction. South Carolina under Negro government. This shit is real. This was us reestablishing dominion of the South. After all those wars, it was all about your inheritance the whole time. All right, family. I done did about 3 hours on this thing, man. I'm about to get up out of here. I appreciate y'all for tapping in, rocking with me the entire time. You see the Cash App, you see the information down below. Happy holiday to everybody. We feel like I want to drop some blessings inside of that bucket. I would greatly appreciate y'all for riding with me the entirety. This was a long one, but we made it. We survived it, and it's so much more that I wanted to get into. But we'll do that for a later time, though. Appreciate y'all once again, man. Thanks for tapping in with me. It's been amazing, an amazing ride. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share this. And you have not already, please be sure to visit the website. I'm gonna show my website every time I come on here, so you might as well just get ready for it. Go check out the website. Let me sling my screen over here real quick so I can see what's going on. Check out the website. You get opportunity. It's getting cold outside. Get your hoodies. This is all my stuff. This is the M.O.I collection. I would love for you guys to support the cause. We need the website information. Shoot me an email over the M.O.I podcast at gmail.com. Shoot me an email, and I'll share the link. The store should be under my YouTube anyway. Like the actual link to the store is on my YouTube link. So show me some love over there. Show me some love on the Cash App. Drop $2 in the collection plate on your way out, man. Appreciate y'all. If you guys have been blessed today, I appreciate y'all. And I can't leave y'all without this shit is funny, man. This I'm about to show it. This is funny.
You will see a bottle of this laying on your bed. Baby oil.
Shouts out to Diddy, man. Hold it down, Diddy. Appreciate you, brother. Listen, man, I'm up out of here. Appreciate y'all. Definitely drop something in the collection plate and way out, man. Peace and love.